Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Wuthering Waves video. This one's going to be a little bit different to what we're used to. Today we're going to be discussing everything that's been going on in the world to do with Wuthering Waves and Hoyoverse. Essentially covering everything that I have been seeing on social media for the past couple of days. Now this is going to be unscripted. I've not got a script or anything prepared. This is based on solely what I've been seeing through content creators, social media like Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, the whole lot essentially. And there's a fair bit to go over. I'm not going to go too deep because my rants will last forever. But yeah, we're gonna cover a few bits today. So if you are new here, hit that like and subscribe button and go follow me at Twitch at twitch.tv/AmethystAbrams. And if you enjoy my company, as I most likely would enjoy yours, then stay tuned for more videos in the future. Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, that sort of side of it. But we're going to be covering something a little bit different than our usual character coverages. So the past, I'd say, week, there's been a lot of controversy and drama surrounding Wuthering Waves and surrounding Hoyoverse. And one of those things is essentially the contract that a lot of Hoyoverse content creators have been receiving regarding games like Genshin Impact, Zenless Zone Zero, ZZZ, which is Hoyoverse's new game dropping end of June going into July. I will also be covering that game briefly, but I will be covering that game to see what it's about, because it does look good. There are elements that I'm interested in, but a lot of the things that I've been seeing about this contract are negative. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any positives, because I'm sure there are positives in this contract, but most of the things I've been seeing are negative. And what I mean by that is, it seems from my point of view that Hoyoverse is now starting to realize there is competition. And the competition is games like Azure Premilia, and more importantly, in my opinion, Wuthering Waves, which is at this point 2 weeks away. We are exactly, as of recording this video on the 9th of May, 2 weeks away from the launch of Wuthering Waves. The game is right around the corner. And essentially, now that content creators are covering Wuthering Waves and they're starting to promote their game a lot more, and Kuro Games are starting to show a lot more of what this game has to offer, and then all of a sudden these content creators are receiving these contracts that are stating that that they basically say, like, you are covering content that is Hoyoverse content that belongs to Hoyoverse. Anything you do, if you sign this contract, anything you do that is regarding anything regarding Hoyoverse. That means if you mention Hoyoverse, if you mention Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, they essentially have the rights to use your content whenever they please, wherever they please. And also there is essentially a non-compete, which means if you start to cover competitive companies like Kuro Games and other stuff like that, then they essentially, it could be a breach of contract. Now, if you breach this contract, Hoyoverse has a right to fine you anywhere up to $500,000, $500,000. They could fine you $500,000 if they don't like the content you're putting out. If you sign this contract and they don't like the content you're putting out, they could fine you up to $500,000. That is what I've been seeing, and a lot of content creators and a lot of people have been confirming that source, and those sources that have been saying that, which isn't good at all. Because here's the problem with that: if you start covering Wuthering Waves now, if you are a content creator that signed that contract and you don't know what you're doing, you don't have lawyers, if you just sign that contract, I'm a massive fan of Hoyoverse games, I love Honkai Star Rail, I love Genshin Impact, I'm going to be playing ZZZ, and you sign this contract, you sign that contract, and you don't know and you didn't pay attention, and you don't know, and you've made content on other games that Hoyoverse deemed to be competitive content, and that could jeopardize their games, they could sue you anywhere from $0 to $500,000. Now, if you're a younger content creator and a smaller content creator, there's a problem there, because I don't think a lot of these small content creators can afford up to $500,000. So there is essentially a non-compete in this contract. They can claim for non-compete, which means if you're not smart enough, or if you've not looked hard enough, then you could be in trouble. Now, the good thing is a lot of content creators, the bigger ones, are letting people be known of this, like Gacha Smack, like Tectone, like a lot of content creators, like Hexjuice, a lot of content creators like those who want to make sure that young, new content creators that do not have the resources and do not know what they're doing to check, they don't know. The thing is, they will be naive and they will be so oblivious to what's going on. All they're seeing is that one of their favorite gaming companies have approached them wanting them to work for them. They're going to sign it. But there's little catches and little things hidden in the texts that a younger content creator won't see. Tectone says he has 3 to 5 lawyers read over it. Hexjuice probably has a lawyer. Gacha Smack probably has a lawyer, but then again, he's a very intelligent guy anyway, so he probably reads through it and knows what to look out for. Oh, so they'll want to try and keep the people that can bring them in. Exactly. Hoyoverse is like, your content will now be our content, and also we're gonna pay you an abysmal amount of money for you to work an abysmal amount of hours for us. Also, if you want to play Wuthering Waves, don't, because if we see it as you're trying to jeopardize our game by covering their game just as much, if not more, if we're in a bad mood one day, we're gonna fine you anywhere up to $500,000. Like, honestly, it's not that great. It's not that great. Now, I'm not saying, like I said, there's a couple of positives on the contract. Like, for instance, there was something where every three months, if you wanted to, you can go back, and every 3 to 5 or something like that, 3 to 5 months around that mark, you can go back to the contract, contact Hoyoverse, and if you want to renegotiate terms, you have the opportunity to every 3 to 5 months. I believe that's what it is. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe that's what it is. So at least it's like 3 to 5 months instead of like 6 months to a year, because half a year to a year is very, very long time, and a lot can happen in 6 months to a year. At least every 3 months, that's like every that's like every quarterly. Every quarter year, every quarter period is actually not a bad thing at all. In fact, it means if you are starting to dislike the content you're making and want to cover other things, you can then contact Hoyoverse saying, I'm at my quarterly period, I want to renegotiate certain terms and conditions that you've placed. Otherwise, I want to leave. I think you have the option to leave if you don't like the terms and conditions that they put out. But the fact that they've said every 3 months you can actually potentially renegotiate, isn't a bad thing. But like I said, there's good and bad things, but a lot of people are covering the bad more than the good. But because I think there are more negatives on this contract than there are positives. And also at the same time there is also a cap. They could be a cap. So for instance, if you're making content, Hoyoverse could potentially put a cap on how much you're earning per video, like based on viewers. So let's say they offer you, I don't know, $3,000 for 100,000 views, but it's capped. So you can only earn $3,000 after 100,000 views. If you make 400,000 views, you're still only earning $3,000 or whatever I just said, $3,000, because that's the cap they've put into place. So you're putting in more hours of work for, well, like a third of the pay, a fourth of the pay, a quarter of the pay, you know? So it's like, again, you need to make sure that you have every bit of information down. If you're a new or starting out content creator that wants to work for Hoyoverse, make sure you have all the facts and information, and make sure before you sign the contract you know exactly what you want to do. Otherwise, it could potentially, not definitely, potentially ruin your career as a content creator, and it could limit you or limit your potential of what you can create. If you just want to be a gacha content creator, then you could, if Hoyoverse sends you a contract like this, you could then be like, I'll sign the contract. However, if I want to make Wuthering Waves content or Azure Familiar content, I can. If I want to make Solo Leveling Arise content, I can. If I want to make Dragon Ball Legends or Dragon Ball Dokkan battle content, I can, because I want to be a gacha game content creator, not a Hoyoverse creator. You could potentially do that, or you could be a Hoyoverse creator for 3 months, and then when your quarterly period is up, then renegotiate and then do that. Essentially, that's what you could potentially do. But that is essentially what's been going on. There's some good, some bad, but mostly bad. And it is very worrying that Hoyoverse are now doing this, because the reason why they're now doing this is because I think they're starting to see competition within games like Azure Familiar and games like Wuthering Waves, because these games are of the same genre as Genshin Impact, which is one of their, if not their biggest game of all time. And especially since ZZZ is right around the corner, Hoyoverse want to keep their main sources of income, which is their content creators, within their grasp. They want to make sure they don't stray too far from the path. They want to make sure they're on the Hoyoverse path, not the Kuro Games path or the Azure Familiar path. They want them on the Hoyoverse path. And if they can poach and hunt for new, younger content creators that are too naive and too stupid to see, not stupid, it's not stupid, that's pretty harsh, too unaware of what's going on, then that's going to potentially put them in, put those content creators in jeopardy. But Hoyoverse just see money makers, you know, to them it's money. But that essentially is what's been going on. But again, this is both good and bad for Wuthering Waves, but because Wuthering Waves, Kuro Games are approaching young content creators and big content creators for contracts to say, we want you to cover our game for the longevity. We expect this game to go to the long run. We're doing a home run with this. We're putting everything we have into Wuthering Waves. We want you to cover this for the next 2, 3, 4 years. However, content creators will not be able to accept this contract if Hoyoverse is making a non-compete claim or a non-compete argument to the content creators that they're sending the contracts to. If Kuro Games came to me and said, we want you to cover our game, I would be abso-bloody-lutely, I've got you, don't worry. But then if Hoyoverse then came to me and then said, look, we don't want you to cover, Wuthering Waves, I'd be like, get fucked, get screwed. I love Honkai Star Rail, and I'm open to play ZZZ. But I'm not just going to cover your games and no other games just because you don't like what you're hearing, don't like the fact that that's the case, because they could be competitors. I don't think so. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that, in my opinion, that is such a bad thing to do on Hoyoverse's front. I don't think that's a good thing at all. And now, if you go to like games like Wuthering Waves, that are doing exceptionally well, and people are very, 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 very much looking forward to games like this, especially this game. This game, like I've said before, has such potential to be one of the biggest open world gacha games, the same genre as Genshin Impact. As it does, like, this could be bigger than Genshin Impact. Do I think it is? No, but I spoke about that in the past. I don't think this will be as successful as Genshin Impact, but it has the potential to in the long run. So maybe not on its first year, but in its second year, third year, fourth year, it could surpass Genshin Impact, because Genshin is releasing so many dead patches now and so many underwhelming patches now that people are their own content creators are starting to see the fact that Genshin Impact isn't the game they want it to be, or is no longer the game that it was. Remember the days in Genshin Impact where Hoyoverse used to release like Archon quests every patch or every 2 patches? It was quite consistent. It would be a big patch and then a filler patch, a big patch, a filler patch. Just like in anime, a big arc, then a filler arc. Big arc, filler arc, big arc, filler arc. That is what it was. And then it became big arc, filler, big arc, filler, and then it became big arc, filler, big arc. And there is so many dead patches right now, and I'm really worried about where Genshin's going, and the fact that Hoyoverse is now very worried. You know, Hoyoverse is worried about Wuthering Waves, Azure Familiar, and other gacha games like that. You know that's the case. Because originally Hoyoverse had no competition. Tower of Fantasy was the only competition they had. And look at the state of that game. They saw the launch of that game. They were like, ooh, let's keep an eye on this. Within the first week, we ain't got to worry about this. We haven't got to worry about this game. This game ain't going to do well. Look at it, it's a state. It's nowhere near as good as our game. We're fine. Wuthering Waves. We'll keep an eye on the development of this. We'll keep an eye on this. And then it had the bad feedback of how bad the game is and the improvements. And Hoyoverse were like, we don't need to worry about this game. We don't need to worry. No. We don't need to worry. We do not need to worry. And then Kuro Games then did the CBT2 and made announcements that they're going to be completely fixing the game and building on the criticisms of this first beta and the closed beta. And the CBT2 was very successful. And then Hoyoverse was like, hang on a minute. We've got a bit of a problem on our hands here, lads. Let's keep an eye. And then they did the live stream, and then they improved on even more of what the community wanted them to do. And then now Hoyoverse is like, scratch the head. What do we do? This is good. This is looking pretty bad for us. Release date for Wuthering Waves gets released. Releasing Resonator showcases. Releasing a lot more updates of what the game has to offer. Content creators that cover Hoyo games are now starting to be excited for this game. Be like, Wuthering Waves is going to be really good. The game looks beautiful, the story looks good, the animations look good, the characters look good. They've got a Pokemon monster catching system. Oh, guys, what do we do? This ain't looking good, guys. What do we do? Oh no, let's all right, non-compete. We're going to have to send them the new contract. We can't let our content creators loose. We'll lose our money. We'll lose our viewership. That is exactly how it's gone down. That is exactly how it has gone down. Genshin Impact and Hoyoverse have had no competition for many years since the release of Genshin Impact. They've had no competition. And any competition they've had has flopped after the first month of release. I don't think Wuthering Waves is going to have that. Not in the slightest. I think Wuthering Waves is going to absolutely triumph. Absolutely triumph, to be honest. I think it's going to absolutely triumph. And I can't wait for it to do so. Because in order for a game that people are complaining about to improve, they do need competition. If Hoyoverse, after all of this criticism, have not changed their formula, and now Wuthering Waves gets popular, and Wuthering Waves builds popularity, and Wuthering Waves starts to take what money and what viewership and player base Hoyoverse had, what do you think they're going to have to do? They're going to have to innovate. What do we do? We're going to have to give the people what they want. Next big update, huge Archon Quest. 3-4 new brand new events that are fresh and new. Then they're going to have to innovate. That's what sometimes you need a competitor to realize that you need to up your game. That is the facts. And I think that everything that's circular, all the hate going towards Wuthering Waves needs to stop. All the hate going towards Azure Familiar needs to stop. I understand you love your game. This is a message to all of the Hoyoverse lovers and Hoyoverse game lovers. I have no problem with you being passionate about your game. I'm passionate about games. But there's a level of respect that you need to have for games like this. Like Wuthering Waves. You need to respect the fact that this game is going to do well. Maybe not as well as Genshin did on release, but it's going to do well. And it's okay for big content creators that cover your game to go to a different game if they want. If you just want Honkai Star Rail content, and if you just want Genshin Impact content, then I'm sure there are other content creators, new content creators that are going to cover the game for you. But do not give your current form of content for these games grief and problems because they want to now branch off to other games. Look at Mtashed. He's now doing AFK Journey, and he's enjoying it, and that channel is popping off, and I'm proud it is. I'm proud of that man, and I'm glad that he is doing well, and that he is finally having some fun in a game that he actually wants to play. My YouTube channel is going to be primarily Wuthering Waves, but am I going to cover Honkai Star Rail? Yes, because I enjoy the game and I want to play the game. One of my dreams is to voice act in Wuthering Waves or Honkai Star Rail. Heck, if Hoyoverse came to me, we want you to voice act in Genshin, of course I bloody would. As a voice actor, I want to voice act with these characters for you guys, and I want to voice act because it's one of my dreams to be a voice actor for these kind of games. So, but it's like, you know, like, just because I'm giving this criticism to Hoyoverse does not mean that I'm just being utter ultra critic, like, you know, I'm not being ultra critical because I love Honkai Star Rail. I think it's an amazing game. Everything that Hoyoverse is doing with that game is correct. Everything they're doing at the moment with Genshin Impact is incorrect, in my humble opinion. Used to be good. Unfortunately, the formula isn't working for them. No, their new formula. They've got to go back to the original formula. That's what worked. More Archon quests. We want more of the main story, not filler stories, not just a character patch. We want an actual patch with main story and good events like it used to be. You know? I really am looking forward to Wuthering Waves. This game is going to do well, and the content creators that you watch that primarily cover Hoyoverse games are going to be covering this game as you're familiar and other gacha games of the same genre, and you have to accept it. You have to be happy for them. It gives you more games to play. If your favorite content creator that covers Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, ZZZ says this game is good, it should give you incentive to go and play the game. Not, oh, it's just a Genshin copy. Oh, I don't want to play this. I'm loyal to Hoyoverse. You could be loyal to Hoyoverse, but just try the game. Try the game. Try these games, because these games is what's going to keep the genre alive. These new competitors are going to keep your favorite game alive, and you need to accept that. I can't wait for this game. Honestly, I can't wait. I think this game is going to do absolutely insane. Everything about this game is beautiful. Everything about this game has been well thought out and built on ever since the first closed alpha beta that they did, whenever they did it, a year, 2 years ago, whenever. This game's been in development for like 4 or 5 years, I believe. Like a year before I think a year before Genshin released, they started development on this game. So it's been in development for a long time. But that's my opinion on the Hoyoverse versus Kuro Games Wuthering Waves drama. The only other things I have to say is this. If you like this content, and if you've enjoyed my company as I have most likely enjoyed yours, both on Twitch and YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Go and follow my Twitch at twitch.tv/AmethystAbrams. And be sure to stick around for more content, because Wuthering Waves is 2 weeks away, and I'll be covering every aspect of this game. Trust me, we're going to be covering the 2.2 story of Honkai Star Rail, but when Wuthering Waves hits the shelves, you best believe I'm going to be putting 110% of my content into this game. But all seriousness though, yeah, that's my opinion. That's my honest opinion on all the drama that's been going on. I want both companies and both games to do well. I want Genshin to do well. I want HSR to do well. I want Wuthering Waves to do well. I want Azure Premilia to do well. I want all the content creators in the gacha scene to do well. But unfortunately, I know that's not going to happen because that's not the kind of world we live in. And also, like, the whole Robin drama is kind of pissing me off, because I remember when Honkai Star Rail came out, it was such a wholesome community. They could take a joke and they could get along nicely. And now all of this headcanon malarkey and all this headcanon nonsense is with Robin has been going around, and it's just unnecessary. Hey, if you like the character, you like the character. Whatever your headcanon is, keep it your own headcanon. Don't bully other people because it's different to yours. Don't try and cancel people because it's different to yours. I don't care. I don't care about the character, full stop. I think she's cool, but I'm not going to summon for her. Heck, I've seen the leaks for Firefly. I don't even know if I want to summon for Boot Hill now, because Firefly looks absolutely insane. I might just continue to save for Firefly now. You know? Who knows? We've got 2.5 weeks before Boot Hill drops, so it's going to be a long wait and a long time to think about it, you know? But yeah, that's my opinion on the Hoyoverse versus Wuthering Waves drama. Let me know what you all think. I didn't cover every aspect, but I wanted to cover a good chunk of it, and I wanted to cover as much of it as possible. If you guys have enjoyed, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment if you wish to communicate with me, and leave your thoughts, because I'm always open to seeing what you guys think about all the drama and all the stuff going on in the games that I love, you love, and everyone in this community loves. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy, guys, and have a good weekend.